Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're going to be unboxing the second expansion for Dune, the Choam and Richese house expansions. So this brings an extra 2 factions to the Dune game, and they're both interesting factions. The first one, House Richese, is a lot like the Ixians in the previous expansion, at that they're very technologically based. However, according to the story, they fell on hard times and had to sell an awful lot of their coveted and patented important technological revolutions and innovations to other houses just to be able to stay competing for Arrakis. So the House Richese probably brings in a lot of new kind of technological things for the game. Choam, which is in the game was always charity, actually stands for the Combine Honnête Ober Advancer Mercantiles. Basically, these guys are the merchants of the entire cosmos. It's interesting because from what I can read here, they have a keen interest in Arrakis above and beyond spice production. Because of its control of interplanetary commerce, Choam is the largest single source of wealth in the Imperium. Influence in Choam is a major focus of political maneuvering in the Imperium, both to maximize dividends and to skim profits. So it's interesting that you have a kind of a technological house in hard times with House Richese, and you have, I presume, is either the World Trade Organization or perhaps Elon Musk in the Choam charity. But with no further ado, let's open this box and see what we have inside. Now, one thing I should say is there's other things in here as well, such as leader skill cards and new stronghold cards that we will have a look at. So, opening the box for the very first time, we are greeted, of course, with the instruction book, which is nice and simple. So, as you can see here, we have the heroes for both. Now, that's interesting. The leader here for Choam doesn't have a number on it, whereas these do. So perhaps this is where the leader's skill set comes in. You have components set up for play, new advanced rules, the Karma Power. You may discard any treachery card, even worthless cards, from your hand at any time and gain 3 spice each. So that's for the Choam charity, lads. And the Richese, you may pay 3 spice at any time to buy one of your Richese treachery cards, secretly choosing which one. Now that's interesting because Richese allows you to shake up the whole treachery mechanic, and Choam also allows you to get rid of treachery cards, even worthless ones. Now that's interesting. So it's called a Karma Power. There's here for the faction rules for the Richese, and you have the faction rules and advantages for the Choam. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick, clever edit, have a read of this, and I'll explain everything that's in it. Okay, I had a quick read over the rules, so I will just kind of summarize them very quickly. The Richese are quite interesting that they have a separate set of treachery cards that they can put into the bidding and that they can sell to other players. Now, these are not replacing the original treachery cards, they're 10 extra ones. So you could offer to sell a treachery card to someone who has maybe a rival. Say if you've got Atreides and Harkonnen, and you can offer to sell to the Atreides the Harkonnen treachery card. So it's very interesting. They have also a thing called a no-field token, which you see here, which prevents other people from seeing what you have put down. So, for example, if you want to storm a certain stronghold or do an actual feint, you put down this token to symbolize that yes, you have beamed troops onto the planet, but they don't know how many troops are there. It could be just one solitary guy, which serves as a distraction, or it could be a massive army. So that's an interesting thing. And your ally may also avail of this actual effect. There's also a black market round in the advanced game where you can offer one treachery card from your hand up for auction, and you can sell it. So it's quite interesting that the Richese have a kind of a black market extra treachery level to their characters. The Choam, of course, are also quite interesting. Both factions start off planet, by the way, so you will have to bring in your entire army. However, the Choam have 0 revivals for their forces, so every faction would have 2 forces that they can bring back for free. Choam have 0. But what makes up for that is that whenever there's the Choam charity phase in the game, they get 2 spice for every single faction that's in it. So if you have a full game of 6 players, they will get 10 spice because it's 2 spice for everyone else. And you also, of course, if someone avails of Choam Charity, they have to take from their share of that charity to the actual player. So in that case, they'll only get 8 spice. But it's a guaranteed income every round with the Choam players. The other interesting thing is there's no limit to the revival. So they can afford to throw money at troops. So it doesn't matter how much gets slaughtered. If they have the spice, they can pay for all the troops to be revived again for the next phase. So it's something that can kind of challenge the Moneybags Emperor. Another very interesting advantage they have, and it's something I think I'd like to play these guys more than Richese, is that they have treachery cards as well. They can hold up to 5 treachery cards, and they can reveal duplicates of the same card. So if they do that, they can discard the surplus treachery card for 3 spice each. 3 spice each. However, it's the worthless cards that are very interesting, because if they discard a worthless card, they can do the following actions. They can play a balisette, which prevents a player from moving forces into a territory you occupy during shipment and movement. They may ship in normally. You've got a Jubbud Cloak, which prevents a loss of your forces in one territory to the storm when it moves. So that is very interesting, because if you want to kind of go onto a stronghold, it allows you to kind of, advance towards it. You have the Kol Wahad, which prevents a player from playing a Karama card this phase as they attempt to do so. We spoke earlier on about the Karama, in that it allows them to do certain things. You have the Kulan, where you move your forces 1 extra territory on your turn in shipping and movement. You have La La La, which prevent a player from taking a free revival during revival. So if, say, you're in a war of attrition with someone, you can actually just be punitive enough to stop them getting 2 extra forces. And you have a trip to Gamont, where you send any 1 force belonging to another player to that player's reserves during the Mentat phase. And of course, revival, where you have no free revival. You can also, as part of an alliance, at the end of a turn of any phase, you can trade a treachery card with your ally. There's also another advanced one, which is actually quite interesting. An auditor. If your leader is the auditor disc, they survive, they actually look and audit the other faction. So you can look at 2 cards from the hand of the other player after the battle. Now, they can pay to keep them secret by paying you a spice per card, but it's interesting that you have auditors kind of leading the forces. And when other players pay spice for their forces in battle, half of the spice, rounded down, goes to you. And when you pay spice for forces, it goes to the spice bank. So it's quite interesting. We have other variants as well. We have the leader skill cards, which are interesting in the sense that there's 2 parts to the leader card. What I'll do is I'll explain it when we come to the leaders, because it'll be a bit better. And there's the advanced stronghold cards, which basically give the strongholds a bit more character, but also a bit of a kind of a home power. So certain strongholds, depending on the card, gives you actual advantages. We have a synopsis here and just a quick little FAQ section. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the tokens. So this is, of course, Choam, so I'm guessing that this is the auditor herself. And you have, of course, the usual shield with the strategy. And you have Richese, and, of course, the same thing here. We have the character-specific cards. So, as you can see, we have Richese with the alliance, the advantages, and it's double-sided. So there's advanced game advantages. So nice and simple and perfect. This is a great way for people to kind of understand their characters quite quickly. And Choam with, as you can see, the different aspects. Now, there's one thing here I meant to mention, which is the inflation token. This is quite interesting. Once per game, Choam can put the inflation token on it, and it'll be flipped. So, for example, like say, if the Harkonnen, if you're in a bad battle with the Harkonnen, and they need, like, they're going to avail of Choam Charity, you can actually put the Choam Charity token up there and cancel it, so that they don't receive any 2 spice for that turn. Then, for the subsequent turn, you flip it, and it says Choam Charity doubled. So in a case of, say, again, if you have a full 6 players, instead of getting 10 spice, you would get 20 spice. Now, it can be played in either order. You can kind of make yourself cash rich, and then, depending on who you're attacking, if they have no spice left, you can deprive them and yourself of an income for that round. But it's a once per game token that is quite interesting. We have here the actual faction tokens. So as you can see here, this is the army. These are the leaders for the Richese, and you have the 2 tokens here, which are the force field shields. So you put them face down and they don't know exactly what they have played. You have here as well, so this is the Auditor, obviously is the weakest of the leaders for Choam. But like I said, if she survives the battle, she gets to check the other factions. What I also like about this is the red and black. It stands out a little bit better, and of course you have another faction token here, and this is the Choam Inflation Shield. So there's nothing else in the box apart from the actual cards. So what we'll do is we'll open the cards and see what we have inside. So we'll just zoom in a little bit on this. So the first one, of course, is leader skills. So to explain the leader skills, basically each card apparently has 2 skill sets. So for example, the Bureaucrat, once per phase, if another player makes a payment to any player other than you of at least 5 spice, you may force 2 of the spice to go to the spice bank. So this is basically a faction skill that you have the entire time. So for example, like if you defeated an enemy leader that had a 5 spice value, you can actually down it to 3 spice. And the leader in battle, your opponent subtracts 1 from their battle total for each stronghold they occupy, not counting those occupied by advisors. Now that is interesting. So if, for example, we took, say, Rajiv Landin as the actual leader, If I take him behind the shield, he stays out in front of the player's shield, so that you understand, other players know that the normal leader skill is in play. However, if you take the person behind the shield with the possibility of using them in battle, and this kind of adds as an extra bluff, you don't get to avail of the top one. However, if you do use them and risk them, you're risking the skill card, but you also have the extra skill on the bottom with it. So if I had used this character, of course, Rajiv, in battle, I would be able to subtract 1 from the battle total for each stronghold the other player controlled. So if they had, say, 2 or 3 strongholds or something like that, that's an automatic negative of 2 on the actual battle score. So it's interesting. It's a good power to have because you can kind of force victory scores down for other people, especially, say, the Harkonnen that would kind of harvest a lot of spice in battle. But you can kind of attack someone who's effectively winning the game. So that's how the skill cards work. So the other one we'd have would be Diplomat, where you may count 1 worthless card in your battle plan as the defense your opponent used in that battle, provided you played no defense, discard it afterwards. So that's an interesting one. You can double up the other player's defense card. And the leader in battle, a number of your undialed forces may, up to the strength of this leader, may retreat to the empty adjacent non-stronghold territory if you lose the battle. We have a Killer Medic, where you would add a +1 to other leader discs when using a poison defense. And so that's an interesting one. If you use a poison defense, that means they have an extra score up. And the leader in battle, add a +3 to your leader disc when using a poison defense. Now that is something that can make someone very powerful. You have Master of Assassins, add +1 to your other leader's discs when using a poison weapon, and add +3 to the leader disc when using a poison weapon. So Killer Medic and Master of Assassins, 2 sides of the same coin. You have Mentat. Before making battle plans, you may ask your opponent if they have a specific weapon, for example, a poisoned tooth or a scissors knife, and they must show you that card if they have it, or another treachery card if they don't. They are not required to use the weapon. So that's an interesting one. So before the actual battle takes place, you can use the Mentat card. Oh yes, and the leader in battle, add +2 to the leader disc. So, interesting. You have Planetologist, add 1 to your movement to a maximum of 3, or you may move forces from 2 different territories in a single movement if they have the same destination. And the leader in battle, reveal 1 green special card other than a cheap hero, for example a hero or a thumper, as part of your battle plan in place of a weapon, and add +2 to the leader disc, discard after the battle. You have Prana Brindu Adept, where you add +1 to your other leader discs when using a projectile device, and if you use the leader in battle, you add a +3 to the leader disc when using a projectile defense. You have Riani, Decipherer, where if you win a battle, secretly peek at 2 random cards in the traitor deck and then reshuffle it. And the leader in battle, if you win the battle, you may draw 2 traitor cards from the deck, keep 1 card by revealing an unused traitor card you hold and then shuffling it and the other card you drew back into the deck. You have another 6, so I might as well just read through them, but I won't go through every single card because the video will never end. If you move any number of your forces into or through a territory containing spice, you may immediately collect 1 spice from that territory, once per territory. So that's interesting. So you can actually just march through different territories and hoover up some of the spice. This is the Sandmaster card. And this leader in battle, add 3 more spice to a territory you are in that has spice after winning a battle there. Now that's interesting. You have a Smuggler. Whenever you ship forces from off-planet to an empty territory, you may bring 1 additional force for free. And the leader in battle, collect 1 spice for each point of strength of this leader from the territory this battle is in, if spice is present, when battle plans are revealed. You have the Spice Banker. Once per phase, if another player makes a payment to the Spice Bank of at least 4 spice, you gain 1 spice, placing it in front of your shield and collecting it in the Mentat phase. That's interesting. It's a pure Choam kind of charity World Trade Organization thing where you just hoover up your cut. This leader in battle, you may spend 1 to 3 of your spice as part of your battle plan and add that amount to your leader disc. This is separate from any spice paid to count your forces as full strength. Now that's interesting. You have the Suck Graduate. When you win a battle and lose forces, return 1 to your reserves instead of going to the Trilaxu tanks. Now that's interesting. And this leader in battle. When you win a battle and lose forces, you may save up to 3 of them from going into the tanks, leaving 1 of them in the territory and returning the rest to your reserves. Now that's interesting. So you can still you can commit all your forces, and if you win, you still have 1 left behind. So that's an interesting one. You have Swordmaster of Ganaz. Add +1 to your other leader discs when using a projectile weapon. And the leader in battle, add +3 to this leader disc when using a projectile weapon. Straightforward. And of course, War Master, which is add +1 to your other leader discs when you play at least 1 worthless card as part of your battle plan. And this leader in battle, add +3 to this leader disc if you play at least 1 worthless card as part of your battle plan. So it's interesting that the worthless cards are actually going to be something that's sought, and it's going to make the bidding for certain cards interesting, especially if you're tradies. If you can see people kind of competing a lot for what are worthless cards, you'll know that they have something up their sleeves. We have, of course, a whole set of traitor cards for the 2 new factions. I'm curious. Yep, the Auditor is actually one of the traitors. We have the Stronghold cards. Now these are interesting because depending on the stronghold you have, you get extra bonuses. So for example, for Arakeen, when paying spice for forces in battle here, 2 spice is paid automatically by the Spice Bank. Very interesting. If you own Cathag, if you do not play a poison weapon in a battle here, any non-poison defense you play also counts as a snooper. You have a Habana Siege. You win ties in battle here despite Storm Order or Juice of Sapporo. So that's basically a tiebreaker. The Siege Tabber. When you win battles here, you collect spice from the Spice Bank for the number your opponent dials rounded down. You have Tuk Siege. Collect 2 spice from the Spice Bank for each worthless card you play in battles there. And you have the Ixian Hidden Mobile Stronghold. Now this is in the other expansion set, so it wouldn't be in the main game. Copy the stronghold advantage of your choice for any other stronghold you control, declaring which one you are using before battle plans are made. So that's, now it's an option, but it's a nice little thing because instead of kind of opportunistically going for the furthest one, it gives you an extra incentive to control a specific stronghold. We have here, of course, the Treachery cards. So we have Artillery Strike, Poison Tooth, the Karama, which is part of the actual faction. So you play the Karama, which allows you to kind of use different skill sets that we spoke about at the start of the game. You have Distrans. Give another player a Treachery card from your hand if that card is not full. Play it any time other than during a bid. Discard after use. You have Juice of Sapporo, Karama again. You have the Mirror Weapon. Play as part of your battle plan. Copies your opponent's weapon if they reveal 1 and if their Treachery card out counts as a weapon. You must use your weapon first if order matters. Discard after use. So basically that's interesting. So it's copies your opponent's weapon. So if someone is using a kind of a nuke option, you can kind of do the same thing back. You have the Null Entropy box. At any time, pay 2 spice to the Spice Bank, then take the Treachery card discard pile and secretly search it for any card other than this to add to your hand. Shuffle the discard pile afterwards and then return it face up, discarding this card on top. Now that's interesting. So, yeah, that is interesting. You can kind of swap out a card. You have the Omnithopter, of course, so you can move one group of your forces up to 3 territories, or move 2 groups of your forces up to your normal movement. Discard after use. You have the Portable Snooper, Residual Poison. Play on your opponent before choosing leaders in battle. That faction will lose one of their available leaders at random to the tanks. No spice is collected for it. So just to be a pest. You have the Sameta Drug and the Stone Burner. We have, of course, the extra prediction cards for the Bene Gesserit. And we have, of course, the Alliance cards for both new factions. Now, this seems to be a very interesting little expansion to the Dune game. One I am very much looking forward to, and I have to say, as evil as the Richese seem to be, the Choam lads seem to be the ones that are very interesting in this, because I like the idea of having just being cash rich. I always enjoyed games as the Emperor in this, so another faction that is cash rich and that can possibly outspend the Emperor is going to be something that's very interesting to shake up this game with. As always, folks, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and until next time, good luck, God bless, and stay safe.